All right, well, let's get into the news. So, first up, as mentioned in the intro, Red Dead Redemption is finally officially confirmed coming to PC October 29th. Um, in terms of specs, the low end, it's pretty low specs as expected. On the high end, most of the specs are pretty reasonable. I mean, the RAM, you only need 8 gigs of RAM, which I mean is definitely more than what it had in the PS3 and 360, but still is like very, very low in terms of what you need. And then the graphics card for recommended is an RTX 2070, not even a 2070 Super, just a 2070. Um, Now, it doesn't say what the recommended specs will give you, but my guess is that's probably 4K 60. At least potentially, because it shouldn't be that demanding of a game, but it's hard to say with any certainty until we get kind of more information. Either way, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, it's definitely it's definitely one of those finally moments. This is something that we've talked about before, something that we've wanted brought over to PC. Why it hasn't happened before is beyond both of us. But it's been over a decade since the game released and no PC port whatsoever. And we got the sequel of all things before we got the first game.
Right.
But finally getting it is great. As you mentioned, the system requirements aren't they're not they're pretty fair, I would say. I also wonder though what the quality of the port is going to be like, as far as like, will it be a decent port or will there be some sort of issues? I would assume no. I would assume that this would be a pretty good quality port, but I'm not certain because I don't know about has Rockstar ever had a game that was originally just on console before being ported to PC
All of them.
at some point, or were they no?
All of them were originally on console
all
before
of
being
them.
ported to PC.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay then. Okay then. So never mind then. I was gonna say then I don't know how this would turn out, but
I mean, this is the first
yeah.
time it's ever been this large of a gap, but it's not the
Well,
first time
yeah.
in general.
But I'll still say I'm optimistic about getting a pretty decent port. That thing should run pretty smoothly. The only thing though, for me personally, just because I feel like I cannot give in and abandon anything and be hypocritical in the sense is I can't get the game just because it requires Rockstar Online to be connected an account. So that's the only reason I will not be getting the game. I thought that it didn't for some reason, but then I saw that it does require an account, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to pass, unfortunately. But I am
Well,
happy that's finally coming over.
if I made you an account under the Orange Box email, would you do it? Because I mean, you wouldn't have to do it; it would just be me doing it. And
It
go ahead.
it's tempting, but I just feel like I can't necessarily. I don't know. I just feel like for some reason, it would be me giving a pass because of the requirement there. And it's not necessarily something we're akin to, like, say, like, I despise what, say, Square Enix does, and so I don't necessarily want to support their games, but I buy, like, a key from a third-party site and something like that, where I feel like, okay, I'm buying the game, but I'm not directly giving them money, as opposed to, like, buying the game and still directly supporting the account requirement. So I guess that's the reasoning for me behind that.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that the account requirement is not intrusive. At least it wasn't with Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, granted, I had created a Rockstar account because initially when I bought Red Dead 2, I bought a Rockstar key for it. So I had to create an account. Actually, well, I can't remember. I think I had a Rockstar account going all the way back to Grand Theft Auto 4 because that was one of the first PC games I ever got. Well, that is when I started doing more heavily gaming on PC and I got my gaming laptop and everything. So I still had an account from way back then. But when I played Red Dead 2, I played that almost entirely on Steam Deck. And the account thing was not in any way, shape, or form detrimental to the game. I still got performance I was very happy with. And, the fact that it was easily staying around 40 frames per second. And that was with very few dips. Like, it wasn't like, God of War Ragnarok which is actually kind of crazy when you think about it, because God of War Ragnarok, I mean, yes, it's technically a little bit better looking in some ways, but God of War Ragnarok is not an open world game, even though there are some open-ish sections. Red Dead 2 is an open world game, and it performs great on the Steam Deck, or at least as far as I'm concerned, because 40 is perfectly fine. I don't think the most it ever dipped down was maybe down to like 35 to 38, but that was Red Dead 2. Red Dead 1 should easily be able to maintain 60 frames per second on the Steam Deck as long as it's well optimized. And based on Rockstar's history, I trust that they're going to have a good port here. I mean, if they could do locked 30 frames per second on the Switch, there's absolutely no reason that they can't get 60 or above on the Steam Deck. And it is a fantastic game, and I do want you to play it. I want you to play it now. I'm not buying it for you because right now I'm not even buying myself a copy because I just can't afford it right now. But man, and I actually do want to get it because, well, for one, I'd love to do the comparison. Steam Deck versus Switch on that, because it looks great on the Switch. And for a Switch port, I mean, it actually runs better on the Switch than it does on the PS3. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's like I would love to do the comparison for it, but it's just gonna have to wait because right now I can't really afford to buy any games. I'm basically just not buying any games for a while. I mean, it's not really a problem. It's not like I have a shortage of games to play. I have so many games, and I'm like, I mean, God of War Ragnarok, the only reason why I did was because I pre-ordered it months ago. And yeah, but yeah, I'm excited that this is happening. I do want to note a couple things that have been shown as far as the type of additional features that the PC version has for Red Dead Redemption. Of course, it has FSR 3 and DLSS 3 both available for upscaling if you so desire to use that. It didn't say if there's frame generation, but I would guess with FSR 3 there probably is. And even if there's not, for some people it would just be helpful to get a little better performance if you need it. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Now for a game this old, it has 4K support for up to 144 hertz, which is great. I bet a lot of computers could probably do this pretty easily, just based on how old this game is. Has ultra-wide support now, as well as super ultra-wide. So instead of just 21:9, it's 32:9, which is insane. I'm pretty sure Red Dead 2 has that as well, but still, that's insane. You can adjust the draw distance, shadows, and more. So it's like, I think this is going to be a really great port, and I can't wait to check it out. I just wish I didn't have to wait. I mean, well, not that I really have time to play it right now anyway, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, this is a game I've wanted on PC for a really long time. And finally being able to get a version of Red Dead Redemption that is above 30 frames per second. That's actually 60 frames per second or more. And you can adjust the settings so you can make it look even better. Or if you need to, you can turn down things if your computer's not super strong. And you can play it on the go at above 30 frames per second. I mean, being able to play it on the go on the Switch was already great, but being able to play it on the go above 30 frames per second is fantastic. So I'm very excited about this. I just wish I didn't I wish I could actually buy it right now. I mean, there are other things that I would probably buy first anyway, even though this one would be a great one for comparison. But either way, it's good stuff. I hope you will reconsider playing this, and there may very well be some way to get around that requirement. Because you could play Red Dead 2 offline on the Steam Deck plenty. I played it almost exclusively offline, at least when I wasn't at home. So
Now, actually, there is actually one thing that I just thought about, and I noticed that I was just checking out to see. I didn't see it on the page, so I was wondering, what do you think the actual price will be? Because
it's going to be 60. I think it's going to be 60.
It's going to be 60.
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's what it was when it came out on the Switch and the PS4.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's going to be pricey, but it is a great game. And of course, it's going to have all the additional features. I mean, do I think they should be charging? No, they shouldn't be charging 60. I think really they should be charging like 40. I think would be reasonable. But it is going to be the best version of the game, without question. And it'll be playable both on PC and Steam Deck and other PC handhelds. So, and without having to emulate it, because the emulation, I don't care what people say, the emulation of it is bad. Well, except for the Switch emulation. The Switch emulation is supposed to be really good, and that makes up for the other ones. But it's like you try to do the PS3 emulation, it's absolute garbage. The 360 is better, but it's still not very good. And I mean, you emulate the Switch version, that's the best way to emulate. But in terms of, emulating the Switch version versus getting the PC version, I mean, really, the only thing is obviously whether or not you want to pay for it, and I pay for my games, so it's just like I mean, people who want to pirate, they're going to pirate anyway, so it's not really going to make any difference from that standpoint, but whatever. So either way, I hope you will give this game a chance eventually. Maybe well, I was going to say maybe they'll put it up on GOG, but probably not, because I don't think Red Dead 2 is on GOG. So most likely you won't ever have that option. But it might be you can create a Rockstar account and then never play online when you're playing, just to spite them, just to send a message. Say, I'm not even going to connect to Red Dead Online. I'm just going to play without that. Because you can. So. Anyway. All right. Cool.